evening, everyone. Welcome back to Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris and Mark back on a Monday night, 9:30, asking the same question. Bloody hell, this is a question we all want to know. What's going on? Blooming heck, there's plenty to get into to try and figure out what's going on with Newcastle United. I can tell you what's going on tonight, guys. Me and Mark have both checked behind us, and there is nobody playing bum cheeks behind us. That's for Sunderland fans only, ladies and gentlemen, not on Newcastle channels. What's going on with you, Mark?
I've got a cat behind us tonight already, so podcast sighting already.
God knows what your cat will do. I don't think your cat will do that, though, by the way. If your cat can do that, it's Britain's Got Talent for you, mate. There is no doubt about that.
No.
If your cat's capable of doing that.
What I would say this to, and we'll get a little bit early into really ref, but I've got something for half the referees in the Premier League. Maybe get yourself there.
Yeah, I don't think that'll help them, to be brutally honest with you, mate. I really don't. I don't even think
if you want to advertise the channel Specsavers, we're open to it.
I don't even think they would have been able to see that brilliant clip on Sky Sports, mate. They probably would have missed it completely. They would have been looking at the umbrellas or the pool in the background, probably wondering how they got the water so blue, rather than the hilarious moment, as everyone knows what I'm talking about. That actually cheered me up from a pretty rotten weekend of football, to be brutally honest with you. But we've got loads to talk about. We are going to talk about said rotten game and everything that's going wrong with Newcastle United. We are going to touch upon poor Nick Woltemade, but we're not going to get too far into it because I've just finished recording my thoughts about that. Plenty of rant and plenty of upset noises from me because I don't like what I'm hearing. But we have got a couple of little points on Nick Woltemade to talk about tonight, guys. But keep an eye out for that video. It'll be out in a couple of days. But before we get started with it, as we always mention, if you haven't already, smash subscribe. Help get us to the next milestone, which would be 13,000 subs. We're around about 12,700 odds, so it'd be good if you can click that button. If you haven't, help push us over the line. All free content, Evermore. If you want to be a member, there's options down there to support the channel. Access to member-only videos, as well as the Discord group, which is brilliant. Much nicer than social media. And, you can just have an opinion on there. Doesn't matter what your opinion is. It's all safe as houses to give it. But let's get stuck in, Mark. My goodness me. Where do we even begin? I mean, I think the first thing to begin with, I think I touched upon it on the post-match. I think a lot of people have said the same thing. I pretty much think that's Europe gone for Newcastle United. I said this prior. I think we had 11 games before Everton. 6 of them were at home, and I said we need to win all of them to have a sniff of getting top 5, even top 7. We didn't win on Saturday. We lost 3-2, in case you were in space, or asleep,
on space.
On space, in space.
It might have been a better day for you, to be honest.
Yeah, possibly. If you were in space, yeah, you might have possibly enjoyed that a bit better, to be fair. But yeah, if you weren't there, we lost 3-2. That's Europe gone, Mark, surely, isn't it? I can't see us getting back after that, mate.
I mean, it's an outside bet at most, I think, at this point. When you look at some of the fixtures that are still to come, obviously Man United on Wednesday, it's Chelsea after that, it's Sunderland after that. Then there's two games we always would go, yeah, they're winnable. Are they at the moment? Bournemouth at home, Palace away, opposite way around. It was Palace first. And then it's Arsenal away from home and Brighton at home. With the record isn't great against. There's just a really tricky run in now. And to bridge that gap, it's going to be a monumental task. And when you consider where Newcastle sit in the league now, it's 13th after the weekend's game. It's what is it? If we look to 7th, it's 7 points. It doesn't sound an awful lot, but form wise is just, I mean, the form's through the floor. Whereas others are getting results. Obviously, Brentford had another win at the weekend, albeit very, very luckily in the end. But it's another win. The gap is there, and it's going to be a really difficult task to overcome that. And another couple of bad results coming over the next few weeks will end that any sort of hope.
Yeah, I mean, for me, sorry, I just got the wrong button there. For me, it's I just think there's too much inconsistency there. I just think this has been the same all season, because I just can't see where this team is going to pick up the points from. I really, really can't. Looking at what we've got there and the fixtures ahead and everything else, I just don't think that there's enough in that side. There's certainly not enough confidence there, I don't think, to get ahead and to get the result. I mean, you got Manchester United on Wednesday. I've done the preview for that, which will be out tomorrow. Spoiler alert, guys, I don't think we're going to win, funnily enough. I hate to break that one to you. So I don't think we'll beat Manchester United. I don't think we'll beat Chelsea. I don't think we'll beat Arsenal away. I don't even think we'll beat Bournemouth and Brighton at home because they're bogey teams for us. So it's not a great run of fixtures for Newcastle. Then you got the Derby in there as well. I don't think we'll beat them either because the way they're playing, they have belief, they have confidence on them. We've got none of that. The manager looks like he's scrambling for ideas. He's playing players out of position, which we'll get into in a minute. I didn't even go off on that proper in post-match. I think I was a little bit just confused as to what on earth was going on. But when you start a game with your £69 million centre forward as a number 8, your midfield enforcer as a left winger, and your left winger as a centre forward, you're kind of wondering, what the fuck is the manager playing at here? And I don't care how much you love Eddie Howe and how much he's made you feel, warm and special and happy as a Newcastle fan over the last 2-3 years, because he has to a lot of Newcastle fans, right? That's terrible management. That's the kind of shit a manager does when he's struggling, when he's running out of ideas. You don't do that. And it changed so quickly. And anyone who went to the match, I don't know if you saw this, let me know in the comments, but I certainly know this happened. I was listening to a couple of content creators who are match goers regularly, and Joe Linton came over and shouted and said, "This isn't working." And it was only then he moved Gordon and Woltemade around and Joe Linton around, because Joe Linton actually had a go at him and said, "I want to go back in midfield. This isn't working." And that's when he changed it. Maybe Joe Linton should manage the fucking team against Man United. He seems to know what he's doing, because we got back into the game in that regard. And that worries me, Mark. That really worries me because, look at some of the comments there. John's bang on. He said he personally feels that he's done a great job. However, his tactics, lack of investment in January are costing us. I think we might need to change a manager to keep the season alive. I don't think they'll change, John, this early because you've only got 10 games left. And I think it's suicide to do that. From Newcastle United's point of view, they've left it too late to make a change to impact the season. The season will be what the season will be now because there's so few games left, and Howe will not go anywhere until the summer. And I'm not even sure he'll go anywhere then, Mark. But one thing he needs to do with his team, above anything else, and you got some pictures here to back this up, he needs to play players in the positions that get the best out of the players. And he cannot be messing around with the players like he is. Bruno Guimaraes missing is a massive blow for this team. So is Lewis Miley as well in some regard, because he gives you someone that can look after the ball. He's a goal threat as well, even though he's only 19. But Bruno is the man we're missing the most because he knits it all together. And he's saved us so many times this season. But in terms of Nick Woltemade, Mark, just to touch upon that, the lad's been getting a lot of grief. We'll save the ranting for the video because I definitely had a few rants in that one. But I'm not the only one. I've seen a few people do this as well. Paul from the Toon Review laid into them as well. I've seen Matty from the Magpie channel having a go as well. Dom Skirth and Geordie Journal is brilliant TikTok from Dom, as well, hitting the nail right on the head. But the situation with Nick Woltemade and the striker position, Mark, you spotted something. There wasn't many positives from the game. You spotted something, certainly with the goal from Jacob Ramsey, who was head and shoulders the best player on the park until he spewed and had to be taken off, God bless him. But on the goal in particular, you got an image that kind of shuts down a lot of this crap that people are throwing at Nick Woltemade just to show what his presence was as a centre forward and how it helped the team.
Well, look, I get it. I mean, there was an awful lot of talk about the fact that he only had 14 touches. That's not all on him. And the fact he has to be given the ball in the right position to be able to influence the game. And I felt that the way that the game started, he just has no influence at all playing in midfield. He's not a midfielder. He's doing our job. He's not doing a very good job because he's just not that player. But the first thing I picked up from the game, and I forced myself yesterday to go back and watch it again, and I wish to God I hadn't, to be honest with you.
I didn't do it. I didn't want
to. If anybody's feeling bad, don't go back and watch games like that because it just makes you feel even worse. But the first image I looked at was that one, 7th minute of game, and the ball had been switched from left to right. Trippier knocks the ball back into Jacob Ramsey, and you can see from that image, Jacob Ramsey looks up. There's nobody anywhere close to the Everton defenders to put any sort of thought into the head of trying to defend that. Woltemade should be forward. That's his position as a centre forward. If he's playing in that role, he should be troubling the right back, centre back. He should be forcing those two into a decision of where to move. Instead, they're quite happy just to sit there and do absolutely nothing because they don't have to. The centre forward in this image is even deeper. Anthony Gordon's playing almost alongside Jacob Ramsey at this point, and that was the 7th minute of the game, and that kind of told you almost instantly what was going to happen in the game in terms of had they stayed there, it would have been worse. But when the goal came out, I thought the switch, and by playing a centre forward in a centre forward position, it gives the defender something to worry about, and he puts doubt in their mind as to where the ball's going to go, where is he going to move to, how is he going to create space for himself to try and get the ball. And when the goal comes, I've done the match of the day thing and circled him, but Tonali picks up the ball, and Jacob Ramsey's got that little space, sort of 5 yards outside the box. Woldemade is pointing where he wants it to go, where the best place for that pass to go. But you also see by being in that centre forward position, he occupies the defender, who then is unable to sort of bridge the gap to try and cut out that pass, or to close down Jacob Ramsey. And so Ramsey's able to take a couple of touches and get the shot away, which leads to the goal. That's the presence of a centre forward in that position. Anthony Gordon just does not do that. He doesn't have centre forward's instincts in that regard. Again, he's done a job, but I'll say it, he's just not done a good enough job, particularly in the Premier League, to warrant being played continually there and given so much praise for doing it either. I just don't understand the constant love. I think I saw in our Discord chat the loving for him in that regard. He's offered absolutely nothing of a real threat for God knows. I think the stat I pulled up before and I sent to you was Gordon has one outfield goal, non-penalty goal, in 36 Premier League games, going back to January of last year. 36 games and one non-penalty goal, and he's only got 2 assists in that time as well. It's an awful run of form, and then to then not have the same level of criticism for him as you've got for Woltemade, who's got 7 goals and 1 penalty, including 1 penalty, in this season alone, and he started really brightly. But he's gone off the boil. But he's gone off the boil because they're not putting him in positions to influence the game. There were moments on Saturday when he influenced the game, but it wasn't enough because Newcastle
you are encroaching on the rant video, as I did say not to. But
I am sorry.
You are basically doing the entire video more or less, Mark. But that's absolutely fine. Yeah, point proven.
Sorry.
But Woltemade is not the problem. He's not the problem, right?
No.
Woltemade is a situation. He's not. What's the right word for him? Woltemade is a quandary that Eddie Howe, as a good manager, should be able to fix and deal with. If he is the manager that everybody claims that he is, he did his research on that lad, and he knows he's not a quick player. He knows he's not an Isak. He knows he's not a Šeško. He's not an Ekitike. He's a technically gifted footballer who likes to drop deep, get the ball at his feet, spin in, and make things happen. And you have to get bodies around him. We've had this kid for 45 games, and nobody knows how to play to his strengths. What are you doing in training? What are you doing in training? What are the wingers doing? What are the midfielders doing? Why are you not getting around this lad? And why are you not influencing that from the sideline? You watch other managers that do their nuts screaming. Even bloody Tudor at Spurs, who looks like he doubt his arse in a week or two. even him shouting to Mickey van der Ven to push up. He ignored the fuck out of him, but he still shouted at him. When was the last time you saw Eddie Howe even have a go at the players for not putting crosses in. And then, as we say, when he goes off, they put crosses in to Anthony Gordon and Johan Vissa. And it's every single game. It makes no sense. But I think, again, we'll park the Woltemade stuff, but the media take on it has been shocking. It really, really has. But what I will talk about is the manager. And I can't get my head around this either. So Newcastle are sitting in 13th. Europe looks like an absolute million miles away, absolute million miles away from Newcastle this season. We are exactly where we deserve to be, with the inconsistency, with the way we've not managed games, the poor defensive nature of games, the lack of cutting edge up front. As a team, we've not been good enough. Our big players haven't turned up this season. They've been woefully off form for whatever reason that is, whether it be disinterest or fatigue or whatever, or players not wanting to play in their preferred position, i.e. Anthony Gordon thinking he's a centre forward all of a sudden because the centre forward left in the summer and he fancies a goal scoring bonus. But, it's not working. It's not working. But the press and the mainstream media seem to absolve the manager of practically anything to do with it, even when they're critiquing the formation and pointing out that players are in the wrong positions. They cannot bring themselves, Mark, to say, do you know what? You got that wrong anyhow. And that's something you need to sort out. Outside of the Geordie journos, I haven't heard any of them. And listen, I've met these guys. I've had a pint with them. They're good guys. You had a pint with them. They're good guys. I've got nothing against the journalists personally. It's not a personal thing. They're decent blokes. I used to watch that content all the time. But you cannot be so biased towards this manager because you want to protect your relationship with him and critique what's going on. He sets the team up. He picks the players in the positions and he sets the tactics and the formations. How can he not be responsible for any of this, Mark? I don't. And this isn't an Eddie in or Eddie out thing, right? This is just the manager has to take responsibility. And he comes out and says every press conference after the game, this is on me. I need to sort this out. But they just seem to absolve him of anything. It's the players' fault. It's the armchair supporters' fault. It's that pigeon that flew past the Gallagher and cooed at Nick Pope, and that's why he fucking had a meltdown in goal. Like he even refused to comment on Nick Pope, didn't he? About the situation there. And I get he's trying to be diplomatic, but honestly, man, we needed a keeper in the summer. He went and got a keeper in the summer, and he didn't play him over Nick Pope. I'm not saying Ramsdale's the answer, but honestly, man. When is this guy going to get a little bit of something from the media to say, hey, listen, mate, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I think the only line I saw was actually one of was Craig Hope, and he did put a tweet and he said, Howe got the starting setup wrong, but the application of those picks has to be better. But the manager has to put them in position to do better. He has to put them in positions to win games, to influence games, to score goals, to create goals, all of that stuff. He has to put them in a better position to do that. And you're right, there aren't enough questions asked around how he's performing and how he's doing it. Look, I think Geordie touched on this on his video yesterday, which as expected was exactly as expected.
Oh yeah.
Of the last 7 games, Newcastle are second bottom of the form table. Only Spurs have a worse record than them. They sit behind both Wolves and Burnley. Like,
that's awful.
Where there's moments where you get the odd line, and we've seen from the Geordie journals that there are questions about, but there's no question of really why is this happening? What are you doing to put it right? How are you? Do you know what I mean? There's just nothing. There always seems to come back to, the Premier League form's not been very good, but Champions League's been all right. Yeah, but the Champions League last 2 games were against a bunch of farmers, a bunch of part-timers that were really, they were hiding to nothing at that point. And some of the other games, those teams just...
They were second worst in the form, guys. Because they were second worst in the league form, guys.
The form guy, I think I actually put it... I think I put it in, and this is it. That's the form table for the last 7 games. And going into Wednesday,
alarm bells ringing for people. I don't understand what will, mate. I really don't.
Yeah, it's just it is an awful run of form. I think when I looked at the looked at the games we're in. It's 4 wins in 13, but those 4 wins are against Burnley, Palace, Leeds, and Tottenham. Outside of that, there are only 2 other points. Like it's been so poor recent, and it's not even just the results, the performances. And we've gone back to what we were talking about months ago, when yes, results might have come. There might have been the odd win or a good draw maybe, but the performances overall have been awful, and they've been awful most of the season. Premier League wise, they've been awful all season, bar the odd flash, the City game, half an hour against Liverpool, absolutely. The Everton game, even that Everton away game, they took their chances. It wasn't a pulsating performance. It wasn't the overall Eddie Howe intense 90-minute performance.
I haven't seen that for ages, mate. No. To be brutally honest with you, I don't think there's any games I've seen that in. But that Everton game was largely won by a certain 19-year-old, which we'll talk about in a bit of positive light in a second. But ex-Bolty there, be prepared for some high-profile departures in the summer. That's just the thing. I mean, this is the mad thing about it, is that the resolve and the manager of everything in terms of the blame and everything else and all that. And make no mistake about it, if we don't get Europe, which I don't think we will, and I've said that for months. Anyone who's watched the channel, I've said that for months. I got loads of pelters for it, loads of shit for it, for saying that I don't think this team will qualify for Europe. And now people are staring down the barrel of that reality that we're not going to qualify for Europe. And we will lose a lot of players. Like some of them players haven't stepped up enough, and they'll move on to Champions League clubs and maybe they'll do well, and maybe they won't. Look at these side, the grass ain't always greener on the other side. But those players will move on, and Newcastle will be left with a core of players, but they must sign well. And if Eddie Howe is still here, which I think he may be, because I'm not sure these owners are connected enough to actually make that call in the summer. I really don't think that way. I think that they've almost stepped so far back and let Eddie have such an influence over this club that they'll let him continue on to start next season. But my worry is, does he spend the money well in the summer? If Hopkinson doesn't put a structure in there to sign the right players at the right, the right price, the right time. But we will be shopping in a different pool of players. There's no doubt about it when we haven't got any European football, and that's a big issue. But before we get into the staleness of the squad, there was a little bit of good news this week. And you all know I'm a big fan of this young lad, on the channel. I've certainly praised him for a long time. Even when people thought he was shit and wanted to sell him, I said, no, this is a real player here. And congratulations to Lewis Miley, who has won the North East Writers Young Player of the Year. There he is, looking dapper in his tuxedo there with Eddie Howe. And who's that other fella? Who's that guy again? He's one of the coaches, isn't he? What's his name? I can't remember his name. Should we just call him Dave?
We'll call him Dave. Do you know what? I am the worst person for remembering people's names.
I know. That's why I asked you, just to stitch you up. I knew you'd
Thank you, mate.
That's okay, mate. That's okay. I was getting you back for talking over my rant video there. That's revenge. Watch out, there's a guy behind you. I'm only joking. So congratulations to Lewis Miley. He was interviewed by many people, including friend of the channel, Dan Wales, which was brilliant. I saw that, Dan. If you're watching, well done, mate, on social media. Brilliant question. I did love the fact Dan was looking up to him, because Dan's not the tallest fella, and Lewis Miley's massive, isn't he? So it was kind of like he was looking up to him, but it was a very good interview from Dan. But Lewis Miley did say, I think that the news that's going out is that he's targeting the Barcelona away game for a return to the team. He said it's been frustrating because of the muscle injury and everything else as well. And that's a concern. But in a way, I'm glad the medical team aren't taking any risks with Lewis Miley, because he's become such a valuable player for the squad, Mark, hasn't he? Even at 19, that we miss him. We miss him when he's not there. So, it's good that he's on the way back, and massive congrats to him for winning that. But yeah, it's we need him back. We thought we made it all fair to still with. So,
well, yeah, I mean, we've talked about influencing games and what are you doing to help the team score goals and create goals and stuff. He's the second highest assist in the Premier League for Newcastle this season.
At 19 years old, and he's played out of position, and that's only with 3. So, but he's one behind Bruno. He's such a good player. He's such a good ball player. And keeps everything ticking over really, really well. And it has showed actually that
that he's been missed over recent games. Bruno as well has been a huge miss, and there are caveats, I think, to some of the performances, but it's the setup, and we'll go back to that. The setup of what's been put out there has been poor.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's great to have Lewis Miley, obviously, in the squad when he is fit. Mark's just got to dive off to do something quickly, but it's great to have Lewis Miley in the squad when he's back fit, because he is such a talent and we really need him back in the team. But it brings us on to the next point, to be fair, which is gone stale about the squad. And this is something that's wound me up for a long time, to be brutally honest with you. And any fans of the channel, they would have known I'm going to talk about this. I've talked about it before. I'm going to try not to be personal here, because that's what gets these people clipping you up. Massive shout out to Matty from the My channel, called them divvies, by the way, which cracked me right up in his video, which was brilliant, because they are divvies. But going back to this situation, so I have a big issue with the squad, and I think if you look at the imbalance of the squad, and again, he will be absolved of it by his media friends. I mean, we used to call it the friends of Steve Bruce, the FOSB, but certainly the FOSEH. Or the FOEH even, the Friends of Eddie Howe brigade at the minute. You know exactly who the main cheerleaders are. But there's a real staleness in this squad. You know, we hear PSR, we hear, you know, problems with signing players and all that kind of stuff. But if you look at our defensive record, we've conceded more goals than Spurs, I think, in the Premier League now. We are so bad at the back. And the issue that I've got with this is the back line of this team is aged out, completely and utterly aged out. You know, you've got Kieran Trippier, who's, you know, nearly 35 years old, Dan Burn, who's 33 going on 34, Fabian Schär, who was 34 years old, Jamal Lascelles before that was 32, wasn't he? Hasn't played for 2 years, but he was invaluable to the squad, according to the manager. And then he said his body wasn't right and we sold him for nothing rather than selling him for something, which is my point on this. And then he went straight into the Leicester team. You know, we kept Sean Longstaff way too long. We should have sold him when we were a Champions League qualified team. We might have got more money for him. Same with Miggy Almiron, same with Callum Wilson, who had too many injury problems. You know, there was so many players in this squad. Mark has returned. There's too many players in this squad for me that have passed their sell-by date. They've gone from being assets to liabilities. You know, Dan Burn in particular, I think Dan Burn's a valuable squad player. There's no doubt about that, right? What he brings to the squad, I think, off the pitch and on the pitch is key, right? But he's not a 3-game-a-week starter, and neither is Kieran Trippier. You know, Nick Pope has got to the point now where he's scaling down, you know, in terms of his ability to be the number one of the club. And just a point I think I'm trying to make there, Mark, really, is that we've hung on to players too long, be it because of sentimentality, be it because of the character that Eddie Howe thinks that character's needed in the squad, so he doesn't want to move them on. That's fine, but there shouldn't be starters. And now the squad has grown stale, and we don't have any kind of get up and go. There's no vigor. There's no injection. He has these young kids on the bench, and he doesn't bring them on. And what young players bring you is freshness. We've just talked about a lad there who's 19 years old, and he's probably been one of our best players this season, Lewis Miley. The next best is Lewis Hall, who's 21. You know, that's a big difference. You start bringing in these young, fresh players who add a bit of energy and a bit of something special. Fearlessness as well, Mark, isn't it? Young players bring when they come in. You know, they're not scared. They give something to go. You know, and right now we're looking at a squad for me, Mark, that is got to a point now where I think it almost needs gutting in the summer, and that's a huge rebuild job. Rather than doing that incrementally, slowly, with 2 players out, 2 players in, 2 players out, 2 players in. We're now in a situation that could be 5, 6, or 7 players. I know contracts are running out in the summer, but you've then got to go and sign 5, 6, or 7 players to replace those players who are going to go. And if he's not willing to promote the youth players, like a Leo Shahar, a Sean Neve, you know, a Shang Shu, those kind of players, if he's not willing to promote them to the first team and actually play them, then where the hell do we go with this, Mark? Because that's another 200 million quid he's going to spend on players to replace squad players that are going out. And we saw what happened in the summer. We didn't necessarily buy starters. We bought squad enhancers, but they haven't enhanced the squad because most of them haven't turned up. So where do we go from here? How do we freshen the stale squad up?
I think gutting the squad is I mean, it's a huge thing, isn't it? Thanks, George. No, it was cat related. It wasn't pleasant, but it was. What I'll not go into detail. That one there.
Oh, right. Okay.
So yeah.
Whatever.
Thanks. I'm just trying to play that card. I'll always blame the podcast. Yeah. There you go.
Exactly. Podcast. Yeah.
There is an inherent issue with it, isn't there? I mean, the average age of the squad is, I think it's the 5th oldest in the, or certainly of, I think the playing, the starting 11, I think is, the 4th oldest in the 5th oldest in the league. I think the average age of the squad is even higher. I think it is. It's starting to get, I think, the average age of the overall squad, I think, is 3rd. I think the average age of the starting players is 5th, the 5th highest in the league. So that this shows kind of, you've got players at the end of their shelf life. We know that. But there has to be a point in which maybe it's not a 1 to 18 rebuild, but there's got to be a big sort of shift in mentality of this, hasn't there? Because those players that are in the squad that contribute nothing, the likes of Kraft and stuff, they're all going to go. Those players are going to have to be replaced. But that's going to be limited funds because they're not going to bring any money in. Lascelles is gone. There's another one, but no money in. There are players out. Oh God, he's off again. Excuse me, in the background.
I'll take over, but go on, you do. I'll take over.
I'll jump out.
Live streams. Yeah, I think what he's saying there is kind of what I was touching on before in terms of the inability to bring in players to replace these players. I mean, the fact that we're in such a state in right back is shocking. Really, it really is. I mean, Kieran Trippier. I've got loads of time for Trippier. I think he still offers something. He's not the player that he was. He's not the player that he that can play 3 games a week certainly and still be as good as he is, but he still has a little bit of quality. He's a good leader and stuff like that as well. But when we're playing Qarabag at home as well, this is the bit that I can't understand why nobody takes this back to the manager. When you're playing Qarabag at home, he keeps saying that these young players aren't ready and they need to earn their opportunity and all that kind of stuff. When you're playing Qarabag at home and you're 6-1 up from the first leg, is that not a game to play Leo Shahar in at least for 45 minutes to see what the kid's all about? I mean, he come on for 8 minutes. I thought he looked quite composed. He had a nice touch, didn't look phased. But if you had him for 45 minutes on the pitch, you may have seen a little bit more to say, hey, do you know what? I can give that kid 20 minutes against Everton or do that. And what it would have also done as well is give Trippier more of a rest. So he could have come into the Everton game. You could have had, I know Shang-Su couldn't play, but you could have had another youngster coming on and giving Barnes a rest or something like that. Do you know what I mean? And that's the bit I don't understand with Howe. And I don't understand how people give him a free pass for that, because you can't then start complaining about fatigue, Mark, when you're not going to give the young players a chance, especially when you're 6-1 up from a first leg. I mean, that was ludicrous, really. We've lost the Everton game now off the back of that Qarabag game. And that's on the manager, because those players were knackered or they look fatigued or whatever. I mean, for me, they had plenty of time to recover, but and they were playing the second gear against Qarabag. But, when he's not going to give them young kids a chance, what does that do for young kids' confidence as well, man? What does it do? It's just shocking, man. I don't agree with it.
And this breeds into what comes next with the academy as well, because if those players aren't going to get an opportunity to progress, and
they'll move on. They'll move on.
I get the argument of they have to show that they're worth it, but you have to give them the opportunity to show they're worth it. Some of these players that we see in the Premier League never really got an opportunity in the reserve sides. They jumped age groups. They jumped into the first team. They were given an opportunity to try and impress. And you're absolutely right. At 6-1 up, even after the first half, right, the game's won, the game's gone. Get the players off, get some of the young players on, give them a run out, give them an opportunity to show that they're worth it. And I saw
Caius wants John Ruddy in there. Super chat from Caius. He wants John Ruddy to start. That's how desperate things have become.
Let's bring the average age of the starting 11 even higher. Yeah, that's a good idea.
76.
Yeah, but I saw arguments about that you keep the momentum with the way that the players are playing. What momentum? I mean, kept the momentum because the form's been shocking. They've kept that momentum going, but the players haven't kept any momentum from the week, and we've seen that week in, week out from the Champions League. It's been a good performance in the Champions League, an utter dross at the weekend from them. The easiest answer to the question of what do you do in that second leg against Karabakh is rest as many players as you possibly can. Don't forfeit the game. I understand that you don't want to put yourself in a position where all of a sudden they score twice and things get a little nervy. You play enough first team as
5-0. They were never going to beat us 5 a game extra.
Not in a million years is that result going to happen. So,
and even if you're 3-0 down, bring the big guns on and turn it back round again and do that. You know what I mean? But he just didn't do any of that.
I get there aren't enough of the youth players to kind of put in it and suddenly change an 11 for all of them. But you bring in players, and particularly for Kieran Trippier, you play him. Yeah. You don't need to play him in that game. You play Leo Shahon, give him 90 minutes at right back, give him 60 minutes, and give him that time to have some real minutes in the first team. You didn't need to bring Lewis Hall on in the second. You didn't need to bring Anthony Gordon. Harvey Barnes didn't need to play. Those are just ridiculous decisions. I can't get my head around.
Barnes needed to play against. Barnes needed to play against Everton. That's what he needed to do, not against Karabakh. Super chat in from Stephen. How protected Gordon and Pope Saturday? Collective responsibility. Then threw Woltemade under the bus, saying it's bad form or something. Nick himself needed to sort out. Such a nice guy. Yeah, that's a good point, Stephen. I mean, Howe does get that. We've got to talk about this, Mark, as a resident goalkeeper as well. I mean, I've already said what keeper I want in the preview, which will be out tomorrow. But Nick Pope has made a catalogue of errors in recent time in his Newcastle United career. I think he's never recovered from the injuries that he had with his shoulder. You think about the crazy handball against Liverpool when he got the red card. The complete loss of senses against Marseille, where he just came out and screamed at a player that went nowhere near him and cost us that game as well. That save or attempted save at the weekend, I mean, any goalkeeper at any level, that is just so poor to have done that, and how slow he was to get up, Mark, as well. You see goalkeepers training and they're bouncing the ball off a trampoline, they're jumping back up and they got spring and all that. He was so slow to get back up, so slow that I actually thought it was a replay I was watching in slow motion. It was the real time. I was like, why is he taking so long? Is this the Matrix? Is he dodging bullets? What's going on? I didn't know what was happening. I was waiting for Trinity to come on a pitch on a fucking motorbike. It was that slow. Like, I wish she did. She might have saved the fucking shot. But Nick Pope, for you, has he got to come out of the team, Mark? Has he got to come out of the team?
I am chief, probably operating officer of the goalkeeper union, as you know, and I will normally defend the goalkeepers to the hilt. He has to come out. He has to come out. There are too many errors with Nick Pope this season, and not just this season. It's been going on for a while, and right. Two years of chasing a goalkeeper to lose a goalkeeper that you want, and to still have Nick Pope in goal. And it's funny because I was having this conversation with a lad at work today, and it kind of goes across the Premier League and I guess as goalkeeping as a whole. What the fuck goalkeeping coaches doing at the highest level with these goalkeepers? What are they teaching them? What are they getting them to do in training? Because sure as shit aren't doing a very good job. There is absolutely no
so poor as well from them. The kicking has become so poor. We've got Vicarious to talk about an Out of Toon, but the kicking has become so poor from all goalkeepers, bar a couple. I'm thinking, I don't understand where this has come from. I really don't.
I don't mind if you're not an Alisson, an Edison, a Manuel Neuer, that sort of player. If your fundamentals are right. If you get your fundamentals right as a goalkeeper, Donnarumma's not a great footballer. He's not. He's not a ball playing goalkeeper. He's a fucking brilliant goalkeeper. He gets the fundamentals right 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
This is what ultimately your first job as a goalkeeper is to stop the ball getting in the back of the net. which means you've got to work on your handling, you've got to work on your position, you've got to work on your footwork, all of those things that you have to do day in, day out in training. What are they doing with him where he is getting his positioning on the field so wrong? He is getting his positioning in the goal so wrong. He's coming for crosses. He should never be anywhere near. His handling in dives, that save at the weekend, goalkeeping 101, first day of learning how to be a goalkeeper.
When you're in
the
school,
ball's coming like that. If you're not going to catch it, I don't understand what he's trying to do. As you watch it, he closes his hands. So he's trying to hold on to the ball like that. Push it to the side. There's nobody there. Push it away from the goal. Get it wide. Get it to the, put it out for a corner. Let your team regroup. You cannot do what he did at the weekend. You can't come and flap it across like he did against Brentford. You can't scream out of your goal and completely miss the ball as it was against Marseille and end up just screaming it. Who was it? It was Aubameyang, wasn't it, that he screamed at? It's just time after time with him, and he'll pull off the goal that went through it ended up going through his legs against West Ham that Souček then tucks in. It's mistake after mistake this season, and I said a couple of years ago I thought Nick Pope was probably the best kind of old school goalkeeper in the Premier League. It's a couple of years ago, his form is his overall contribution has dropped through the floor.
There's the problem, though. A couple of years ago, Nick Pope was good. A couple of years ago, Kieran Trippier was up and down the line. A couple of years ago, Joe Willock was influencing games. All of these players, a couple of years ago, this manager should have moved players out of this squad and improved and upgraded and transformed his squad, and it wouldn't have grown so stale. But Nick Pope may be gifting goals, but Marcus is gifting ever more memberships. Thank you, Marcus. 10 ever more memberships to people in the chat. You absolute superstar, you. Thank you, mate. That's a gift that we like. Not a Nick Pope gift. That is a gift that we like. But they have to sort this out in the summer. And I think somebody said before, we chased Trafford for 3 years and fucked that up. This new hierarchy who are dealing with transfers cannot get this wrong. And the friends of Eddie Howe will blame everybody else. Will blame sporting directors who are outgoing. They'll blame, players who can't work in this guy's system. They'll blame, like I said, they'll blame that pigeon that flew over the Gallagher. They'll blame anybody but the manager, right? But the manager has to sort this out. He has to. If he can't sign the right players or be trusted to sign the right players, right, then you need to take him off signings. He needs to be off signings. You need to have a committee that sort these signings out and get these deals done. The Burnley thing, there might have been a bit of truth with the Mitchell situation, pissing Burnley off and all that stuff. I don't know. But all I do know is that James Trafford tripled his wages or something, doubled the wages that we were going to pay him. I think that to me smells a bit like an agent getting a payday, in all fairness. And I think that's what happened with Trafford. And I think that's why he's in the situation he's in now.
But let's not forget there were reports, and I've seen, was it the Geordie journals that had mentioned this over the weekend? Trafford was telling everybody.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, we saw that at the time. He was at weddings. He was telling people. He was on flights. He was telling people. But this is before Man City come in and triggered a return in his contract and said they'd double the wages Newcastle were paid. And then knowing fine well they were going to go out and sign someone like Donnarumma when that was available. That's not very good. The lad has been very poorly advised by his people, and certainly by Manchester City as well. But, whether it's Trafford or not, I don't know. The wages may be a problem now unless he's willing to take a drop in wages and come to Newcastle for the original wage that he was going to come to Newcastle for. But they need a new keeper. There is no doubt about that. They need a new goalkeeper because it unlocks a different way of playing for us. And in fact, Demos is playing well for Sevilla. Maybe he's an option. Who knows? Fucking hell. But yeah, good comment there from Gareth saying Eddie Howe wants everyone to stay. That's not how a top Premier League team works. It's interesting because he actually said this. Eddie Howe even said this in his own press conference about our kind of up and down spikes, the forms he went. That's not how a top team plays. So even he's self-deprecating himself. So the journalists aren't doing it, but Eddie Howe is doing it for himself. Do you know what I mean? It's just it's crackers. It really, really is crackers. But hey, we're watching a great product, aren't we? We're watching such a great product that this club is able to whack the prices up of tickets for the Champions League games. So we'll get into this because this is something, certainly give Marcus a shout out in the comments as well. He asked us in the Discord group to talk about this. And you would have seen this already, that Newcastle come under a little bit of fire here. I saw there was a brilliant clip on the overlap, wasn't it? I think it was from a Nottingham Forest fan. She was brilliant.
Yes.
She talked about how, these clubs don't want fan loyalty. They just want money. They want capital. They want cost in, numbers in, and we'll talk about the Adidas numbers as well in a second. But Newcastle United put the prices up for the Carabao game of all games as well. 6-1 we were up from the first leg. You didn't even know what the manager was going to do. I mean, was that in his thinking as well? Is that why he played first team players? Because we were charging people, what was it, 65 quid? Did it go up by a fiver? I think it was. And then they're talking about the Barcelona game going up again to 69 quid or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, so the trust
very well. They're 4 quid
so
increase,
the trust have put basically that's their post, but the games have gone up from 70 to 74 for the Barcelona game. And I sort of understand the Carabao one because the £70 was set, and you start to, if you then sell them off cheaper. I know other businesses do that, but there'll be a lot of blowback from everybody else that's paid 70 quid, and all of a sudden you're selling them for 20, 30 quid cheaper. But to put them up in the middle of a season, I'm sorry, but that's unforgivable. Like £4 per ticket as well. In the grand scheme of things, means absolutely nothing. If it's one game, which I guess an awful lot of people would expect it to be, 52,000, 50,000 a game, it's £200,000 for an extra 200 grand for that game. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage.
It's not going to move the needle, is it?
Overall revenue? No, it's not. It's less. I think it's less than 1% of the revenue or something. It'd be less than 0.5% of the revenue for the total Champions League season. It smacks you as absolute greed and just it's another opportunity for the club to go, well, we've got a captive audience. We know we're going to sell all the tickets. Yeah, we're going to stick them up by a couple of quid. Basically, screw you. I'm sorry, but in the middle of a season, no. You mess around with the ticket prices in the pre-season for next season. Fair enough that this happens, but in the middle of a season, just smacks of greed, and it's horrible to see. It really is.
I mean, 74 quid to watch Barcelona pass round us and fuck us all over. I think there's guys who probably shagged hookers for cheaper than that, to be fair. They'll get fucked less than Newcastle United. But that is nuts. It's absolutely nuts. It really, really is. I mean, you're talking about a working class city here. You're talking about part of the UK as well, not to get political here, but part of the UK that economically is deprived. And to charge £74 for a ticket, and Villa were just as bad as well. They were 70 odd quid for their tickets as well. To charge fans £70 to watch a team play is actually scandalous. It really, really is. I mean, even 40 odd quid's a bit rich for a ticket, but 70 quid for a ticket. And then they've got all the other shit that goes with it. They've got the special Champions League shirts, and they've got the special limited edition this and limited edition that. And then out of the back of all of this, a good comment there by Kais. We're getting to that, mate. You're reading our mind here. But not only are they whacking up the ticket cost for the Champions League after playing crap for a large period of time, after getting booed off the pitch at St James's Park, which, by the way, I don't agree with. I don't think we should boo our own players. Certainly not booing Gordon or booing the team. I get your frustrations, and you can voice that any way you want. But I'm not somebody who boos my own players at St James's Park. But if you did it, then fair enough. But sorry, I'm just laughing at that. Only Chippers gets hookers for that price. Grade A ones, Chippers as well, if you're still in the chat. But Newcastle United have decided to tell everybody about this brilliant, exciting news of all the revenue, all the money that they've made from their partnership with Adidas. You've seen it doing the rounds on social media. They whacked in this huge number here, you can see. So this is from Dom Skur as well, for the Georgia Journals. Big shout out to Dom all night here. You're resource material here, Dom. But Newcastle's merchandise revenue is up 11.4 million in 2024 to 35 million in 2025. That's a club record. The 18th highest in Europe and the 7th in the Premier League. But still well short of the top clubs. Merchandising contributes to 10% of Newcastle's total revenue. So we may be playing shit, but we're all buying the tops. So there you go, eh? Well done to Adidas and to Newcastle United for that, eh? Well done. Jesus.
And this isn't just limited to Newcastle, but the number of merch drops this season, actually the last couple
Oh,
of seasons, have been unbelievable. And I get it. They have to increase their revenues. That they have to increase the amount of commercial revenue that they have. But does it always have to be at the expense of fans?
Yeah, clearly,
where are the
audience, as you say?
Yeah, where are the commercial deals for sponsorships, the extra commercial deals for training kit, all that kind of stuff that we've talked about before? They're happy to fleece the fans at every opportunity. And I know this isn't just restricted to Newcastle; it's every club in the Premier League that does this. Where's this grand scheme of commercial revenue increase for the club in other areas? It doesn't always have to just be the fans. And some of the stuff has been
thing to do.
It is the easiest one because they know they know they will sell.
Yeah. As Graham says there, the problem is people keep buying it. If you build it, they will come. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. As much as the bitch and moan, somebody will bitch and moan, fucking shite these, man, fucking rubbish, can't win a game. I'm just going to go in a club shop and buy 80 quid's worth of gear. They just know what's happening. It's almost like a drug that these fans just can't stop themselves doing, really. But as Phil says there, the club has always looked to take the piss out of fans, exploit their loyalty. And again, you're right, Zig. PSR is designed to fleece fans. That's why it was brought in, to encourage the teams to do that to fans even more. Whack ticket prices up. Do things like the MAG memberships where most of them people are just throwing 35 quid down the sink because they're probably not going to get a ticket. They're going all the ballots and won't win it. I've entered the Barca ballot. I'll be shocked. I haven't won a ballot yet. I mean, holy shit, if I'm going to start, what a game to start, by the way. But I don't think I'll win that ballot. But I've tried anyway, But I'm so disenchanted with that whole ballot system, We talked about this on last week's show. There was a lad on TikTok saying he was in a queue and there was 100,000 people trying to get tickets for the Sunderland game. And the stadium only holds 52,000. What's all that about? You shouldn't even allow that many people on the website. It's ridiculous, man. Makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
I think it was 100,000 people queuing for about 1,000 tickets as well. So it's, do you know what I mean? That's the lottery that you get into. But and these again, those are the bits of those commercial revenue. You go, well, we'll give you the opportunity to get this, and if you spend £50 now, you might get the opportunity to do something. I understand this is how the world works. I understand this is how football works. But I'm allowed to dislike all of that. I really don't like. I don't like clubs fleecing their lifeblood.
Yeah, you're not allowed this season. You're not getting the memo. You're not allowed to criticise. You're not allowed to have a problem. You're not allowed to voice your concerns. You're not allowed to do any of that, mate. John's saying we've got no news on the stadium or training ground and no transfers in January. Have PIF forgotten the old Newcastle? I think they're a bit disinterested. I really do. I think they're a bit disinterested. But one thing that they look like they've done well here, you remember this story from a while ago where Newcastle United were talking about another revenue spinner was, let's redesign the club crest because it's too, see, this is the club crest here. It's too complicated to put on merchandise and all that. And we don't like it. Graphic designers find it hard to copy all the things. This wonderful traditional crest that we all associate with Newcastle, the 2 seahorses, the badge, Newcastle United, the flag, the castle, the whole shebang. And they came up with all these different ideas. And this idea, if Mark's got a picture, was doing the rounds, as you'll remember it. And it was so fucking bad. It looked like something a teenager would sketch on their workbook in school. And everybody just kind of went, ugh, when they seen it. It reminded me of that Simpsons episode where Homer's allowed to design a car for his brother's car company, and it comes out and it's just wank. Remember that? It's a great episode. That everyone goes when they open the curtains. That's how that crest looked, isn't it? And it kind of went quiet a bit. There was massive negative reaction to it. Everyone said it was absolutely shit, and it kind of disappeared. David Hopkinson's decided that this isn't going to be the badge anymore, by the sound of it, and they've gone away and they're thinking. I think there's loads of they've thrown out all these big marketing words and all that stuff, about what is it again? It's simplification rather than evolution rather than change or some shit like that. But they're either going to make a decision. There we go. They're going to make a decision. So they're set to make an imminent decision on the badge, the crest. The radical plans have been ditched. David Hopkins said they will decide either do nothing with the current badge or clean up the design, addressing symmetry an aspect ratio. So it sounds like they're not going to do that shit design. And the guy who was actually leading those, brilliant.
Sorry,
what
I had to bring it up.
The Homer, what an episode! I remember that, was brilliant. And the guy who was actually doing those meetings at the time, he's now left the club. He's one of the kind of heads that have been chalked off in David Hopkinson's 100-day review, and he's left that now, and he's looking for about 5 different positions to fill. But once again, these are key positions. And Newcastle have got 10 games left this season. Then we're in the summer and the World Cup's on, and these guys aren't in position. So what the fuck is going on? We're going to be in another summer transition where, right, I'm going to offer the job to this guy, but they've all got to put their notices in and they can't start for 6 months. Well, back in the same spot again. Where's the commercial teams behind the scenes, man? Where are they? It's unbelievable, man.
It is mad when you look at the fact that what are we now 4.5 years into the project, and you looking at the fact that there has been so much turnover already in that regard, and then somebody new has come in and decided that they're going to get shot of an awful lot of people that were in that. Just, it's almost back to the start again, and if we've kind of seen that almost with we go back to the playing side. You go almost back to day one again, where there's a lot of old talent in the squad that needs replacing. There's a lot of talent in the background that's now being replaced. And you're right, some of those players, some of those people are going to come from other clubs, from other else, and they're going to be in contract. They're going to need to sort of, as we've seen before, with people go on garden and leave for several months until they're allowed to leave and stuff. So they're not going to come in through the door, in a matter of minutes. And you get into another summer and another summer of upheaval within the club, and it just going round and round in circles at the moment. There's no. As much as they talk about 2030 being competing, they're nowhere near the levels of the club, at any level of the club being ready for that.
That was just noise. I think that was just a soundbite. These guys throw things out there. It's almost political when they just throw out things that they think people are going to get really excited about, but they're never going to deliver on them. And I think David Hopkinson should have known better than to throw that out there on TalkSport. It's a great comment from Stephen here. Chris, Mark, did you lads know each other from school? Have you ever given your origin story Marvel style? Well, I was bit by a spider, and Mark was used to be a professor and got hit by gamma rays, Stephen. But no, we have given this origin story numerous times. We have known each other since we were 5 years old, went right through school with each other, worked in bars together in Whitley Bay. Our wives were best friends as well. So yeah, we've known each other a long time, mate. But sadly, I do not have spider powers, and he is not the Incredible Hulk either. So he's the Incredible Stat Man. That's what he is. So he's rather than getting angry and turn into a big green rage monster, he just likes to mess around with stats. It's not as exciting, but still, never mind. It's
weird though, because my favorite thing in the world is green. It is Excel.
Yes,
I love a spreadsheet. I love a spreadsheet. So there you go.
That's nearly as bad as your Mike Ashley comment last week, mate. I think you need to. You're peaking too soon.
That's harsh. Come on, that was dreadful. I apologize.
Nobody loves Excel. Come on, mate. Nobody loves Excel. Come on, my word. Let's move on before we lose the 179 watcher with that shit. Oh my god.
Yes, please don't leave us.
Yeah, don't leave us because Mark loves Excel. Kai says, leave Excel alone. You've got another member of the squad there. George says, what, you got bit by a spider and Mark rides a silver surfboard? That's exactly right. Yeah, he heralds your beginning, George. Yeah, he heralds your beginning. You actually would fall off it and shatter your knee in a million places. Yeah, you'd be like the silver patient, is what you would be, just in the RVI with your leg in the sling and your board just up there next to you on the sign. Galactus popped in the window checking you were okay.
Even with my knackered knee, I'd still get up quicker than Nick Pope.
Mate, honestly, fucking hell! I think a sloth will get up quicker than Nick Pope, mate. I really do. Graham's gifted 5 of the more memberships. Thanks, Graham. Really appreciate that, buddy. You're an absolute star. Who's Excel? Says Ian. Apparently, he's a right back. We're signing him in the summer, Ian. He likes to spread the play. That's what he is, mate. But we'll get
tell you what, if you want a fullback that scores goals, Matty Target's got 2 tonight.
Fucking hell, I know. We'll get Matty Target and Vlachodimos back. We're sorted next season. Champions League here will come again next season, you know. But we'll move on to Really Ref, which is the new section of the show where we talk about ridiculous refereeing. And my God, there was a good few candidates, I think, this weekend, Mark. But who have we gone for this weekend, mate?
I have pulled 3. One of them is about the noisy neighbours down the road, and we'll give them a little bit of.
They were hard done by that.
I'm
was
sorry,
a shocker. That was
it's an absolutely shambolic. The ball player just runs into the back. I can't remember who the Sunderland player was. I don't spend that much time watching them, but he's just running the back. There's no attempt to play the ball. He just basically barges him over. That's about the only one I know. Does Niall Quinn still play? Is Peter Reid still the manager? No. Oh, all right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but we'll talk about cheating and other things. Really ref as well, and I didn't pull up a picture of it. But the Cunha one that you said, that Sunderland one is far more of a penalty than the Manchester United one that was given yesterday. That's a shambolic decision.
It was dreadful, and we'll get into this now, Out of Toon, but this new talk about VAR as well. My God, honestly, I don't know how fans are even going to get home from evening games. Fuck me, we'll get into that later on. But I mean that is such a shocking decision, and the referees are so dependent on VAR now as well that I don't understand how that wasn't given at all. But that was dreadful.
No.
I do feel sorry for the Mackhams for that particular one, but you did cheer me up with your Sky Sports appearance later on that evening, so that was almost worth it. Next one, mate. What's the next really ref one there, mate?
On the subject of things that weren't given, and I've got one that was given to come. Declan Rice with a double penalty that wasn't given. I mean, he's got the Chelsea player in a headlock, and then raises his elbow as the ball comes in. So not only does he have the player in a headlock and fouling the Chelsea player, he then raises his elbow into the ball to deflect the ball away. Neither are given. And it just, and there were a number of those, but the number of times that you see this from not just Arsenal players, but they're particularly guilty of it. The amount of WWE style, and I think somebody referenced this for the game, Chelsea were just as bad at times. It's. I mean, how are you sitting watching that going? How are you allowing this to happen?
You remember when Gabriel just punched Nick Woltemade and got away with it?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe he got away with it. It was absolutely disgusting. It really, really was. It was shocking.
Unbelievable. But the last one,
comment there from Kai. The only winner on our team is Trippier on Tinder. I tell you what. See, I saw the girl that Kieran Trippier is supposed to be rolling around with, mate. I tell you what, it's not the kind of woman you bring home to your man, by the way, by the sound of it. If Kieran Trippier's out with a fucking groin strain in a couple of weeks, then I ain't surprised. Put it that way. Fucking hell. But enough of that. So what's the next one, Mark?
The next one was one that was given, but what on earth is this given? This is Lloyd, the Newcastle legend that is Lloyd Kelly, who jumps for a header. And on his way down, happens to land on the Galatasaray player.
How is he meant to stop that? How is he meant to stop that?
He absolutely can't. But not only was this given, it was given as a fact that he was booked. And it was a second yellow card and he got sent off. Not only that, the referee then was called to the video monitor and looked at it again and went, yeah, you know what? I'm going to scratch that yellow card and I'm going to give him a straight red. What on earth were you looking at? I just don't understand. So it goes to show that it's not just Premier League referees that are fucking useless. It's a vast majority of them. But that is a god awful decision.
Yeah, there's just no common sense in football anymore. There really, really isn't, and it's about to get worse. So let's move into Out of Toon. We might as well start with that one, Mark. Really, bloody hell. So Out of Toon is the bit where we talk about non-Newcastle stuff. There is a little bit of actually ex-Newcastle stuff in here, but we'll get into that. It is Out of Toon technically, but kind of in tune. But we'll start with the news on VAR and how it's changing and evolving into different aspects of the game. And this did the rounds here. So this actually made me shudder. It really, really did, because games are already nearly 2 hours long, right? And they're kicking off at 8:15. And you're already missing last trains when you were going to London and stuff like that. This shit is going to make a game last nigh on 3 hours. So the law changes. And this was from Dale Johnson on Twitter. The law changes VAR for corners, second yellows, 5-second countdowns on throws and goal kicks, 10-second countdowns on subs, and as revealed, players off for 1 minute on an injury, and Arsene Wenger's daylight offside trials for Canada from April. The top bits there about the corners and the second yellows. When it comes to goals and tackles, these guys are taking nearly 10 minutes to make a decision, Mark. If you're going to do it for people protesting corners and second yellows, how long is a game of football going to last now? This is going to be ridiculous, man. It really, really is.
It's becoming, it's almost at times becoming unwatchable for the length of time this happens. Not only this, it's then when the referees go on. We talked about this last week when the refs go off because the technology breaks. Like, where are we in this? We're not the NFL where the games last 3 hours, like with multiple stops. And where are we? Are we going to end?
Going to have quarters instead of halves. Yeah.
Are we going to end up with coach challenges? They're going to have a flag to throw in the field when they're not happy with the decision. Yeah, exactly. It's just. I sort of understand getting those things right because those second yellow cards can mean an awful lot.
Sometimes.
Just let the game flow. Let's get back to what football is best at being, which is a watchable sport. It's supposed to be fun. We've dragged the life out of it.
And doing this goal celebration because nobody knows when to celebrate or not.
No,
you know what I mean? It's just nuts.
Not at all. I get the countdowns. I get there being a limit on the amount of time you can spend over a throw-in or over a corner because, as we've seen from some, Arsenal in particular, but they're not the worst at it, that they take 45, 50 seconds over a corner. It's shambolic that's allowed to happen. The goalkeeper, God forbid, can't hold the ball for more than, 8 seconds at the moment. But a corner can take 45, 50 seconds to get taken. That's fine. Like those things I like, those things that change and where it speeds gets the ball back in play. But the substitution, the injured player one for me is we're going to see a raft of, or we're going to just leave one in on players because if they have to get treatment, then they're off the field for a minute. So not only are you penalised, like you might get a free kick out of it, but you're going to be a man down for another minute. They're already man down for 30 seconds. They're going to increase that to a minute to try and stop people feigning injuries and stuff like that. But then you run the risk of players being targeted a little bit more. Let's just leave one in on them. So if they have to have treatment, they're off. It's just that there seems something a little wrong with that as well.
It is. But how depressing that is. Let's cheer ourselves up. We've talked about it a couple of times. You've got it on the Out of Toon media things, Mark. Pull up this Sunderland fan because I thought this was fucking hilarious, right? If you didn't see this already on Sky Sports, I don't know whether they've taken it down or not, right? So this lad goes on Sky and talks about Sunderland, as I've done, talking about Newcastle before, and I felt sorry for him a little bit, but it was one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. So he was talking about the game. I don't know where it was, mind you. It's a cracking view. I don't know where he was. I don't know whether he was on his holidays or whether he just happens to live in a very, very nice house. But he was sitting talking about Sunderland outside, and then out of nowhere, don't pull a guy up, Mark. Jesus, out of nowhere.
I've specifically clipped it at that part and not at the other bit. I ain't putting that on the screen.
Yeah. Out of nowhere, this guy walked up, pulls down his stripes, and shows his arse. And it was hilarious because I couldn't stop laughing at the clip. And then the first comment underneath was, "Look at the size of the wrecking balls on that fella." And it was so funny. I just started laughing reading the comments. People talking about, did he hop there on his space, hop my balls? I sent it to my mate and said, clacker knackers. Remember clackers used to have them toys where you spun them around and they clack together? That's what I thought. It was really funny and honestly, like, just really childish banter, and it really, really cheered me up, to be honest with you, after the Everton game. Yeah, exactly. Marcus says he chuckles every time. Showing a hotel pool in the background. Yeah, I mean, that was an absolute corker. It really, really was. But yeah, that did cheer me up, to be fair. I won't go on too much because I might get told off, but I'm sure I won't because I thought that was really, really funny. But I tell you what's not funny: the thought of Amanda Staveley coming back into football. Like, this ain't funny, right? Now, I mean, bloody hell, talk about a fixer-upper. Amanda Staveley and Mehrdad Gudjosi, special place in all of our hearts as Newcastle fans, apparently have funding in place to be more than $3 billion to buy Spurs, apparently. Now, they could be buying Spurs in the Championship. They might get a real sweet deal on them because Spurs are in big trouble at the minute. The way they're sinking fast. But that won't be good, will it, really, Mark? Because, they are so kind of synonymous with us in terms of, leading the takeover and all the exciting times that came with it. It'd be really sad to see them doing that with another club, wouldn't it, really? But as Tuna says, team talk are shite. Do you know what I mean? So
it's fair enough, really. Yeah, you're absolutely right. When you look at it, and obviously they were always going to look for another project, weren't they? They were always going to look to get back in somewhere else and do something else. And I guess you've said it, it's the ultimate fixer-upper at the moment because they're an absolute fucking shambles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for Newcastle fans looking at that and going, they were really part of the rescue act that came in and took over from. They were a big part of that takeover from Ashley, and with the start of what's gone well. To see them go in elsewhere, just I guess that's going to leave a bitter taste in an awful lot of people's mouths.
Yeah, it will do. But I mean, I think Spurs are in major trouble personally. We'll have to see what happens with them lot. But yeah, really major trouble. But moving on. So a former Newcastle player, we said this the other week about Jack Colback, and a former Newcastle player has signed for another club as well. And it's this young lad. If you remember Shane Ferguson, I remember him. Was he a left back? He was a left winger. Formerly of Newcastle, Birmingham City, Rangers, Millwall. I don't know who them other two teams are there, but he signed for Morpeth. So he's up playing for Morpeth. So any of you non-league fans, I'll get to see him turn out for Morpeth. So maybe he's still got a sweet left peg, the young lad. I was sad when he went. I thought he was going to be a good player for us. But he just disappeared, wasn't he?
Joe Kinnear definitely thought he was a good player. He wanted to bring him to the club, didn't he? Who's that kid with the left foot? Yeah, he's one of yours, mate.
I mean, Tim, I haven't seen him for a long time, but he's got a bit of a Despicable Me Gru look about him there, isn't he? Really,
He does, yeah.
He really has,
I see that.
Yeah, freeze ray. Maybe that's what he'll do when he's up and down the line. Just spray people with a freeze ray and get past them. But yeah, he's been going a long time, isn't it? To be fair. So what else have we got here? Oh God, yeah. So when you sign for a new club, this thing about doing keep ups with the crowd, a very Barcelona, Real Madrid type thing. Sometimes it can go spectacularly wrong. I think there was a player. Was it again? It was a Braithwaite who played for Barcelona. He couldn't do 3 keep ups or something like that. It was one of them. I can't remember who it was. But it was shocking. But the worst thing that can possibly happen is what happened to this player. We'll pull up in a second. Who signed for his new club? So this is Quito Diaz, who was unveiled as a new signing for. I mean, what the hell is that? Is it Guayaquil City in Ecuador?
Guayaquil, maybe something like that.
Guayaquil, we'll call it, city in Ecuador. So during his presentation lap around the pitch, he tried to launch a ball to the crowd as a gift, but he miscued it. He ended up smashing a fan right into Chevy Chase. I mean, what a great way to start with your new club, mate. Fucking hell. That's grim.
Yeah. It's if you can't actually. I didn't manage to pause the video well enough, but right in the middle of the screen, you can see. I think is a woman just standing to the right of the gap, and there's the guy behind her, and he just launches the ball right into his mush, and it bounces straight back, and he launches it back up into the stand. Oh Jesus, that's got to hurt an awful lot.
That's really got the smart. That's really got the smart. What a cracking comment from Kai's here. What happened to Haris Vukic? God, remember him, Haris Vukic?
Yeah.
Remember when he played that game against West Brom and he was mint? He had that shot from like 40 yards and he hit the bar. And we all thought he was going to be absolutely class. And then he just disappeared off, didn't he? Absolutely shocking. Where is Steve Watson now, says John. Steve Watson, he was a Gateshead, wasn't he? Wasn't he Gateshead? Steve Watson. I think he was at Gateshead, I think, a while ago. I don't know where he is now. He was at York for a long time, wasn't he? I'm not quite sure where he where he's.
I don't know where he ended up in the end.
No. To be fair, I don't know where he's ended up now. We've got a couple of other ones. We did have another one there. I think if Mark's going to dig that one out,
I am getting it now.
Funny. You're getting it now. But this is another one. So it is kind of in tune. So it'd be interesting to hear what the guys in the comments have got to think about this. So apparently Manchester City are willing to pay 70 million quid, a world record fee for a fullback, in order to get Timo Livramento. And this is from Team Talk again, which talk shit. But it's an interesting one, this with Tino, because I think I said to you, Mark, we were talking about this in Messenger Group, and I said there's a lot of reasons why you should consider that. Now, I think Timo Livramento's cracking, and I love him as a player. He's quick, defensive, he's very good. He's not as great in the final third. I think he's way behind Lewis Hall in terms of his development as a player. I think Hall's light years ahead of him. But the biggest issue that Tino has is he can't stay fit. He's injury prone. And Newcastle have got to seriously look at that, because if they were going to get 70 million quid for a kid that played 35 million for, double that cash for someone who's been as injured as Tino has been, it might be worth looking at. But I actually have another theory on this. I think that's probably thrown out by his agent, because I think that the likes of City and everything are a bit worried about Livramento's injury record, and I think his agent may have tossed that out of the media to try and get a little bit extra cash in the contract negotiations. What do you think?
Possibly. I think it's one of those, isn't it, where will clubs back off a little bit from him because of his injury history? And if you consider he's missed something like 34, 35 games in his 2.5, 3 seasons at Newcastle, and when you tack on to the back of that, he was missing for an entire season because of his cruciate injury when he was at Southampton. Like, there is a worry there with him that he keeps picking up injuries. Part of that comes down to the fact that he's brought back awful too soon, a lot more quickly. Like, if you look at his last one, he came back and he was straight in the side. There was no well, let's have him on the bench for a week or two. It was no, he's back. So he's come back from a knee injury. Let's put him straight back on the field. And this comes down to the medical side. It comes down to Eddie Howe, that they're just not willing to. And it's weird because for transfers, they will give them all the time in the world to adjust. But when they're coming back from injuries, they're either not taken off quick enough, as we've seen with the likes of Burn and Bruno and stuff, or they're thrown back into the side too quickly. And it just happens again and again. And we've seen this with multiple players now. But sooner or later, you've got to look and go, do you cut your losses? And go, maybe it's not cut your losses and stuff, but because you'll make an awful lot of money out of him. Yeah. But do you get somebody that's going to be fit for 35, 36, 37, 38 games a season? That's probably better use.
It is concerning. It is concerning. I'll tell you what else is concerning. What's really concerning is when a Hollywood beauty has a better touch than your 55 million quid right winger you signed in the summer in Anthony Elanga. If you didn't see this already, Sydney Sweeney was on the pitch. I think she was over in Australia, so it wasn't sure. They actually said that she's got more skill than most Tottenham players. I watched her. She ran with the ball at her feet. She come a little step over, struck a poke on, and then passed it down the line. And I thought, fucking hell, that's more than Elanga's done all season. To be fair to her. So well done to Sydney Sweeney. Not only is she smoking hot, she's very good at football as well. So some people have got all the luck, mate, haven't they?
I was going to throw in a line about being better up front. I don't know how.
I don't know about that. Fucking hell, Marcus. Specimen, says Marcus. Wow, that's a real compliment. You walk up to a lady and just say, "Excuse me, you are a specimen." Well said, Marcus. You're buying her flowers there, my friend. Well said. What's this coming from Dave saying, Man City should just buy Reece James. They want the best English right back. Yeah, when he can stay fit as well, because he's very injury prone as well, isn't he, to be fair? But it'd be interesting to see. I think there's a little bit of tactics there with Tino's agent. But we did talk about this before as well. So I was at the comment there from Sydney Sweeney. Christ probably outpaces Elanga too. She's even hotter than Barbara Windsor, says Podmags. You're showing your age there, Podmags, I tell you. Sneaky saying, I'll go if one side. I think you'd pay 70 quid a ticket for that, wouldn't you, mate? I don't think you'd have any people
see how quickly the ticket prices get exactly, bumped up for that. Yeah.
Yeah, plenty of merchandise being sold, I'm sure, as well. But yeah, well, people don't like the fact she says she's got good genes. We'll get into that, but she has got good genes, clearly. She can even play football in them. Look, we've just seen. But somebody who maybe won't be having a good time, unlike Sydney Sweeney, is the new interim manager of Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, when we saw this, you kind of thought yourself, first of all, you thought, I can't believe this. And then you thought, actually, I can, because it's Spurs. So Igor Tudor's on the brink of being sacked just weeks after taking over at Tottenham Hotspur, because they're so disappointed that the things aren't working well at the minute, that they're actually considering getting rid of this guy. And obviously, they got rid of Nuno. Was appointed in June 2021. He was sacked in October, 4 months later. Spurs need immediate results, clearly. I mean, they are slipping so badly, Mark, in the Premier League. They remind me of that Newcastle team that went down with all of those players, really good individual players, and just can't get it together as a team, slipping down the league really, really quickly. They don't seem to have anybody who's willing to step up and take ownership and do something. And it might be desperate times for Spurs, desperate measures, and they may need to call upon somebody who can spot a terrific little player. You may be pulling in the car park right now. This lad right here, Harry Redknapp, is ready to answer the call, I'm sure. He'll be there with his arm out that Range Rover car. Terrific little player. He'll be there, I'm sure, mate. So you know it's coming, don't you? You fucking know it's coming.
Is it really? Are we at that point? Like, I'm amazed that we haven't seen more of a clamour for Big Sam. Although I did see a tweet about him, the new leader. I don't even quite go. The new leader of Iran being Sam Allardyce in disguise and stuff. Oh my God!
No, let's not go there. I mean,
I'm not getting too deep into that.
Yeah. On a serious note, anyone who's anywhere near Dubai and everything, stay safe, guys. I really hope everything's okay over there. It's a rough old time. So anyone who's near those areas, stay safe. Very, very worrying things going on in the world right now. Absolutely. And I don't know if Harry Redknapp's the man to solve it, but maybe he is. Maybe he is.
Back to Harry at Spurs. Yeah, I mean,
back to Harry.
Things have got to be seriously bad when you have to go back. When you even the suggestion of going back to a manager who hasn't managed for when was the last time? Is it a decade? Although having said that, Neil Warnock's back in football again, so yeah, anything's possible.
77. I mean, he must really not like his missus, Neil Warnock. If he's going back.
I think she's sick of him. I think he's gone. Sorry, Neil, you're gonna have to go and get a job, mate. Because one, you're spending money too fast at home, but two, I'm just sick of you.
Exactly. Stephen said, Tudor, he's trying to save Spurs and divorce Catherine of Aragon. Which comes first, Spurs or his great matter? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's probably going to have more jobs than old King Henry had bloody wives at this rate, I think, old Tudor. But yeah, it's not looking great for him. So just finishing on Out of Toon as well. There's a couple of things about keepers. So there is another one about the Spurs keeper which was unbelievable from the Premier League as well, to be honest with you. I'll let Mark get that one loaded up in the background. But this was something that Mark Douglas had put out about Newcastle looking at goalkeepers. And it kind of ties in what we were talking about Nick Pope earlier on. That, Newcastle are looking at Verbruggen, apparently, from Brighton. I think he's a decent keeper. He got a little bit of stick on social media when people had mentioned it. And obviously the Trafford interest is still there as well, just by Mark's pulling up the misfortune of what happened to the Spurs goalkeeper. Either one of those goalkeepers, Mark, I think they're probably improvements on Pope and Ramsdale, in all fairness, for Verbruggen and Trafford. I think they're young, they're agile, they're good with the ball at their feet, they're good shot stoppers, and I think both of them would want to be a number one, though, wouldn't they? Nobody want to be a number two. So I don't think you get both of them. So it's either one or the other. I mean, do you think there's more likely with sign of a Verbruggen over Trafford in terms of his wage demands, or?
Possibly. I mean, I like both of them, to be fair, and I think either of them would be a marked upgrade on what's there now. They're both better than Ramsdale and Pope. So and we'll throw Ruddy into that mix as well, and poor Mark Gillespie, who never gets a mention.
Nothing
I
poor
don't even
about
know.
Mark Gillespie, man. He's the best paid fan in the fucking world. As Mark Gillespie, man. I'm sure he's a lovely fella. He seems to be, but he's not. He's not a player. He's a bloody supporter, man. That's what he is. He's a supporter. Just gets to hang around with a squad. He should just like be a vlogger. He'd be the most viewed Newcastle vlogger ever because he never plays. Just have a camera and be in and around the squad. Really, I'm surprised the club haven't asked him to do that personally.
10 grand a week just to do bit of training. Like I'll take that any day of the week. So, and I said this a few weeks ago. If Newcastle want to sign me just to help train the goalkeepers and work with, that's fine. I'm there. I'll come and help.
I think your skills will be better served in graphic design, mate. I really hope whoever designs the match day graphics isn't going to have a crack at the club crest because God knows what the fuck we'll end up with there because their graphics are rancid on match days. They really, really are. But just to finish off Out of Toon and the show on goalkeepers. Vicario, bloody hell. I mean, he had a mare at the weekend. He had an awful game. His distribution was really, really poor. Obviously, he conceded 2 goals. By the way, a cracker from Harry Wilson again. Why don't we try and sign him in January? How you tell me? Out of contract in the summer. I hope we'll go for him in the summer. But the Premier League's official X account had deleted a post which mocked Vicario, the Spurs goalkeeper, following conversations between the league and the club. So the Premier League shared the clip of Vicario and he hoofed the free kick from his own half straight out of play when Spurs were 2-1 down, chasing the game. And they basically said with the captions, just how the play was drawn up. So the video itself included additional captions reading an interesting free kick from Vicario, along with laughing emojis before the word whoops, and another laughing emoji as the video cut to Spurs head coach Igor Tudor on the touchline. So according to the reports, the Premier League deleted the post following a complaint from the club, and Spurs did not respond when asked to be confirmed by The Athletic. Now, part of that, you have a little chuckle about it, right? But this is nuts for me, Mark, right? I mean, I work in the commercial world and stuff like that, right? And we're content creators, so we have a YouTube channel, we have a TikTok account, and we do funny things sometimes. You do funny little videos and all that stuff, right? We're not the fucking Premier League, right? The Premier League shouldn't be doing bants posts like that with some fucking idiot who go, "Oh yeah, guys, it's great bants," like what are you doing? In the words of Roy Keane, do your job. Your job is to be the Premier League. Post about goals, post about tackles, post about controversial decisions. Don't take the piss out of professional footballers who are playing in your league and clubs who are playing you, no matter how bad they are. It's like kicking somebody when they're down as well. I just think it's really poor taste, and it stinks of that like piss-taking TikTok Love Island crap banter that some little fucking knob cheese is doing, working for the Premier League on their social channels. Like, get a grip yourself, man. Like, how did the Premier League even let that go out? Like, I think that's terrible. And do you know what? Well done to Spurs for kicking off about it, because I think that's really poor. If something happened to Newcastle like that, we weren't where Spurs are. I mean, fuck me, we're only 7 points out of them. If we were where Spurs were and they would do that in Newcastle, I'd be really pissed off with that. So I think you need to grow up, these people looking after these accounts, man. Grow up.
Yeah, there's a line, isn't there? And I think for them, their own account, it has to be the professional side of things. It cannot be. It can more to the point. If they start doing it, what are we going to do?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we can't do it because it's copyright in it. We're not allowed to do it.
No, well, exactly.
Video
But those clips of Vicario, and I've issues with Vicario being a goalkeeper anyway. I think he's fucking useless. And the clips of him and that free kick, if you watch it, is from his own half. He just launches it straight down the right-hand side, straight out for a goal kick. There's another one, he gets the ball just inside his own 6-yard box and just launches it out for a throw-in. Like, what are you playing at, lad? Honestly. Yeah. But for the Premier League to do that is just, it's shambolic, really, for them to even contemplate putting that out as a bit of fun. Like, no, you can't do that to your own members, like to their own clubs. Like it's just not. That's not right. It'd be like, that's like your own club taking the piss out of your own players for doing something like that. Like that's the kind of level that we're at with that.
Absolutely. Well, Mark's cheering us up after our negative chat before. He said, it's not over for us in Europe. We're winning the Champions League. Go on, Mark. Never stop believing, mate. As Journey once said, don't stop believing. Tuna says, unprofessional. It is unprofessional. I think, like I say, people need to grow up a little bit. You know, when you're doing your job, you've got to be professional. You know, if they really wanted to take the piss, they should have done should have went to Specsavers for some of them penalty decisions we were doing earlier on. Do you know what I mean? Like, but there you go. But they're not going to do that because then the referees will kick off as well. But anyway, yeah, a lot to go through in the world of football, not just Newcastle United. But thanks for watching, guys, tonight. That's us done with the show. Really appreciate all of the comments. Always helps this flow. We really enjoy doing this one and getting you guys engaged as well. Don't ignore you like some other channels do. And your comments are all safe from me as long as you keep it above the belt, which you guys always do. And it's very, very good that you do. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. Help get us to the next milestone, which is 13,000 subs. We've got loads of content coming out. We've got the preview for Manchester United coming out. We've got a rant video about the stick Nick Woltemade is getting in the media, which I'm not very pleased about. Mark will be back with you for the post-match duties for the Manchester United game because I am away on the day job. I will be watching, so maybe lurking in the comments as well. But Mark will be behind the mic on the post-match, so come and join him in the show, in the live chat. Hopefully, he's in a happy mood because Newcastle have won. But I wouldn't expect too much, guys, if I'm brutally honest with you. But anyway, that's us all done. Thanks for watching. Have a cracking morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Keep it evermore, and we'll see you later. Cheers.
See you guys. Thank you.
Celebrate. They have done it.